Everyone, Jacquie Edwards here. Thank you so much for joining me. So today I am talking about why we should be looking at or choosing rent to rent in 2020. So we've got a new year, everybody's excited about it. We're getting our goals set, we're making our New Year's resolutions, however you set goals, and we're looking at what do we want this year and what is the best strategy to get us there. Now, I love rent to rent. Obviously, that's how I built my portfolio. That's how I got started in property. That's how I gained my financial freedom. So rent to rent has a place close to my heart. But I also think it's a really strong business decision right now and going forward. So right now, we're in a time that has quite a bit of uncertainty. We've got Brexit looming over us. Is it really going to happen? How is it going to happen? What's going to happen? We've got the government being very anti-landlord right now, and there's a lot of new laws coming in about landlord regulations and taxes, and they really want more privately owned properties. I don't know how they're going to house people that can't afford a house, but anyways, I don't want to get in there here. It's just getting more difficult to be a landlord. And there's uncertainty around, what is the property market going to do? Are there more tenants? Are there less tenants because of Brexit? Is everybody leaving the country? Are jobs kind of stagnating at the moment because, the economy doesn't know what to do and what's happening, and businesses don't know whether they should hire or not. So all of that uncertainty could lead you feeling, maybe I should wait. Maybe I should hold off, not jump into this property thing right now, and just wait and see what happens. But I think that there's no time like the present. You could wait and, maybe everything will be wonderful and things will be sunshine and roses in, a year from now. But that's when everybody's going to jump in. And everybody's going to be like, oh, everything's spring sunshine and roses, and I'm ready to do all my investing. Whereas, the savvy people are, getting in at the very beginning. And they're getting in when other people are a bit more nervous about it. So I know rent to rent's been around for a while now, and whether you're looking at HMOs or serviced accommodation, I think they're both still very viable. And I think it's because of that uncertainty that rent to rent is the right strategy for right now. So if you are looking at buying an investment property in this time of uncertainty where we don't know what legislation is going to come out, what's going to happen with Section 21, Section 8, are you going to get a tenant that has to live there forever? What's going to happen? With rent to rent, you can mitigate your risks. You don't own that property. So you would have a break clause in that contract on your side. So if anything changes in the future and all of a sudden that property is no longer viable, you can tell the landlord, I'm sorry, it's not working anymore. Here's your property back. And then you're done and you've mitigated your risks. You can't do that when you own a property. If you own a property and everything goes wrong and all of a sudden it's not a good investment anymore, you're going to really struggle to sell it, because who's going to want to buy a property that's not in good investment? Nobody. But with rent to rent, you can just hand it back to the landlord. So you can use it, make your money from it. Of course, you're going to want to take good care of it. You're going to want to take good care of your tenants. You're going to want to do right by your landlords, but you have that opportunity to mitigate that risk. So no matter what life throws at us, what the government throws at us, what happens with Brexit, what happens with the uncertainty in the economy, what happens, there could be local things happening. So maybe you're going to start your rent-to-rent business in a town that has an Amazon fulfillment center. And you're like, oh my goodness, there's loads of people coming in here to work at this new fulfillment center. Amazon is booming. I'm going to buy some HMOs here and it's going to be amazing. And, maybe next year Amazon goes out of business. Highly doubt it, but, use another company as an example. But Amazon goes out of business, and now all of a sudden you have no tenants for that property, because all those people that were working at Amazon, they've got to go find jobs somewhere else, and there are no more jobs for that many people in your area. Now all of a sudden you can't get tenants for your properties. If you own that property, you're stuck. If you don't own that property, you hand it back to the landlord and move on to another area. And that is okay. So in this time of uncertainty, I think that's what makes rent to rent an ideal strategy. And of course, it's a great strategy for people that don't have the funds to buy a property, that maybe don't have the the kind of credibility to get joint venture partners yet, maybe that are just getting started and want to test the waters. Maybe you just want to find out, do I actually like managing an HMO, or do I actually like managing a service accommodation? And you test it out with a rent-to-rent property before you jump into buying a whole bunch of them and then realizing, oh my God, I hate this. Now how do I get out of it? Because as you buy properties, the stamp duty, the fees, the taxes, everything adds up. And so selling that property, even if you get the same price you purchased it for, you've lost out on all of those fees that you had to pay. So really think about, what is your goal from property investing? If your goal is cash flow right now, if you want that ongoing incoming income, then rent to rent makes sense. Now, if your strategy and if your goals for your property investing is to, build up a property portfolio that you own, mortgage-free as a pension for when you retire 40 years from now, maybe rent-to-rent isn't the right way to go. But it's a great way to get started. It's a great way to get that experience. So for me, when I got started, I needed the cash now. I wanted to stop being an accountant. I hated my job. I hated going to work every day. I wanted to work for myself and have that freedom. So I started my rent-to-rent business. Now, I looked at buying properties, but where I am, they were too expensive. And I had no credibility to get joint venture partners. I tried, and everybody was like, yeah, it looks like a really great deal. What's your experience running an HMO? None. Oh, gee, no, I don't really want to give you a whole shit ton of money. So I needed to use rent to rent to get started. I needed to build that rent to rent business to build my experience, build my credibility, get the income coming in so I could stop working full time, focus on my property journey and my property investment business. So I built up those rent to rents. I built up the business experience. I built up a team. And then I was able to start getting joint venture partners. And then I was able to use those joint venture partners to start purchasing properties. And I was able to build my portfolio and move forward from there. So once you start rent to rent, it's not like you have to do it forever. It's not like, oh my God, I'm a rent to renter and now this is the rest of my life. I've actually started to transition away from rent to rent. So this, not even this year anymore, it's 2020. So last year in 2019, we handed over all of our properties for rent to rent. Now I'm just taking care of the ones that I own. So my property manager's taking over most of my rent to rents and one of my other students in Oxford. So I've been able to replace that income that I needed and that I was getting from my rent to rents from a couple of properties that we own, but I wouldn't have been able to own those properties had I not built that rent to rent business first, because I needed the joint venture partners and I didn't have the experience that the joint venture partners were looking for until I did rent to rent. Also, in order to get mortgages, my mortgage companies for HMOs wanted to see landlord experience. I was able to use my rent to rent portfolio to show that landlord experience. I wouldn't have been able to get those mortgages otherwise. So it's all a process. So I think now is the time to jump into rent to rent. You can beat that uncertainty, you can mitigate your risks, even if it's just the fact that you don't know what you're doing and you're worried you're going to make a shitty deal because you don't know how to negotiate, you don't know how to assess a deal. If it turns out that that deal is really, really crap, then you can always hand it back to the owner because you've got a break clause on your side. Now, a question I always get at this point is, what about the owners? Don't they have a break clause? What if they want the property back? No, you don't put a break clause on the owner's side in your contract. They don't have a break clause because you're putting money and time and effort into this property. They can't just expect you to, spend $3,000 fixing up their property and then 6 months later they're like, oh, we want our property back. Gee, thanks for your help. No, that's not how it works. So they are getting in return for your break clause, because lots of people are like, oh, doesn't the contract have to be fair? Don't you have to have even? So in return for you getting a break clause, they get their property fixed up, well taken care of, and well managed. So that is the return that they get for you having that break clause. So it is a win-win situation for everybody. All right, so that is my story. That is why I'm passionate about rent to rent. That is why I think this is the strategy for 2020. Now, if you are interested in getting your first rent-to-rent deal by the 15th of March, so in the next 3 months, then check out the link that I've posted, renttorentacademy.co.uk/rent-to-rent-fast-track. That is my 9-week mentoring program. You get daily video lessons, daily emails, weekly group calls with me to ask all of your questions. I make sure that you've got all the information you need to get your first rent-to-rent deal by the 15th of March. That is my goal. We've got all the resources that you need. I've used this process myself. My students have used it successfully. This is what you need to get your rent-to-rent business going if you are serious about getting it going early 2020. So make sure you check that out. Got special pricing, it goes up after so many people buy it. So check that out now. The earlier you get in, the better it is. And there's loads of extra bonuses. So I don't want to go through them all here because, yeah, that's just it. How much is it? There's two options. You can pay in advance. You can pay all at once. I think right now it's $15.97, but that's only for the first 5 people that pay that $15.97, and then it's going to jump up again. If you want to, there is a 3-pay option. I forget what those 3 payments are, but you can pay over 3 months as well. And there's a little bit of an uplift for kind of interest and processing for the 3 payments. So that's an option as well. So head to that link or just go to my website, renttorentacademy.co.uk, and you can find loads more information there. All right, that's it for me. I am going to jump off and eat my lunch, and I will see you again soon.